Hello friends! Welcome to my channel. I am Noelle, and this week I have discovered that I have well over a mile of fabric in my stash, which seems excessive. How did I find this out? I use an app called Threadloop. This is not a sponsored video. I am not getting paid for this. They don't know me. They didn't ask me to do this. I was just so kind of flabbergasted by this program, this app that my friend sort of gently nudged me into using that I thought I would share it with you. I talked about it a little bit on my Patreon update, and enough of my patrons were like, show me the money, that I was like, all right, I'll make you a video and I'll just share it with everybody else too. So Threadloop is a website, like a web app that you can also make look like a app on your phone, but it's primarily a website, and it's threadloop.app. I will of course link that down below so you guys can check it out. It's a very cool program. It's free, which blows my mind. There is like a paid part of it. You absolutely don't need to do the paid part of it. I cataloged, what is the number? 1,861.5 yards. Actually, I cataloged a little bit more than that. I've already used some of my fabric and subtracted it out of the stash already, which is something I never do when I've cataloged my fabric in different ways before. So that's very impressive to me that it could make me want to keep up with it. So what better way to show you this app than to show you this app? So I'm going to do something I don't normally do, which is show you a screen recording while I'm going to go through the app with you. I will show you, of course, the free features. I only use one of the features so far. Well, maybe two. But so far I have really only cataloged my yardage of fabric in the app. There's also an incredible patterns area. There's a notions catalog that you can make. And there's also a projects area where you can keep track of your projects, keep notes on it, keep, detailed information on which fabrics out of your stash you used for that. It's kind of incredible. So let's get a look at that. Alrighty, so when you come into Threadloop, this is the first thing you see. It's generally your launch pad area. There's lots of stuff on this page. I'll show you a little bit around here so that you know what all these things are. First of all, this is your stuff up here. I changed my mouse, so hopefully you can see where that is a little bit better. Of course, here's my fabrics. I have 262 cuts of fabric, which is obscene, at 1,861.5 yards. I think it was 1,865 when I first got done with this in November, and I've just taken a few yards out so far. I also have one project in here that is there just so I can demo what projects look like for you, and then you can also do the same thing that you do with fabrics with your notions if you want to. That's a little bit more than I need. You're also going to see your own stuff, so here are the projects that I have. The Spencer that I'm currently working on is right here. That Spencer is right behind me. It's still in progress. You can see the shared projects from other members of this pattern list. People make pattern lists of patterns in here, and then it is a giant pattern database that has many crowdsourced patterns in here, just incredible amounts of patterns. And there's reviews. Here are the new patterns that have come in, just today maybe, and then the things that are trending in 2 different ways. There's also a discussions area where it's a very big community, and it is very sort of vibrant. Lots of people are constantly talking in this area. There's also places where you can talk to the people who make this program and let them know what it is you're interested in having changed or updated or added, and they are pretty responsive about it, and they are constantly updating this site, which is kind of awesome given that it's free. There's always this thing up here so you can support them if you want, and you can get a little bit more stuff from the paid version. You can pay as little as $5 a month, so it's I think, well, let's just click it. Here's what you get. You can do $5 a month, or for less than $50 a year, you can get more stats and a bunch of other things. I'm going to come back here and show you this again later because I think this is more interesting when you know the rest of the situation. So let me do a deep dive into the fabrics area because that is the thing that attracted me. My friend Hannah was using this. It actually used to have a different name, but then they changed the name. My friend has been trying to get me to use this for about a year. And then at some point I was like, okay, you're right. And I will show you why. So here are all my fabrics. You can look at this in 2 ways. You can get a list going and look at it this way. Or if you're interested in the photos that you took and want to see more of that, you can look at it this way, which I deeply appreciate. So here are all my fabrics. I have actually made this public, so if you find me on Threadloop, you can go ahead and see what fabrics I have and how I use them. You can't edit them or anything, but if you're interested in looking at them, you can. I will leave a link to my profile down below so that you guys can check it out if you're interested in doing that. So first of all, you take your own picture and you can upload it. You can't upload more than one picture, I think, but I think only one picture shows on here. So take the picture you like. There's also, in the paid version, there is a way to import fabrics from a website. So like if you just buy off of Mood or something, you can just give it the link and it'll suck those pictures in for you if you want. So any picture you see me showing you here is something that I actually sat there and took the picture of. In fact, I have a little time lapse, which I'm going to show you right now to show you what I did. Moving forward, we have the name, you can call it whatever you want, the current yardage, and you can up and down this all you want and it'll keep a log of what you did. So we're seeing on November 3rd, I added that. The only thing that I am sort of a little disappointed in is that you can't make comments in this section. That's definitely something I'll recommend to them in their chat. Obviously you have the width of the fabric here. You can do the composition of any fabric you want. There's tons of options to choose from. You can also choose other, which I think is pretty cool. There's a lot of fabric types in here. There's the structure, which in this case is an embroidered silk taffeta. So it's off-white, it's cream, it has a floral print. You can also search through here for whatever you'd like. The colors are also listed in a very specific way so that they can show you your favorite colors in the stats, which I will show you later. If it has stretch or not, the sheerness, this is opaque, the drape is very crisp, the weight is somewhat light medium, so that's cool. You can also track things like sourcing, who did that, where did you get it, the date, the price. So this was $15 a yard at Home Fabrics and I got it on November 2nd. Wash and care instructions, if you're that into filling this stuff out, you can absolutely put that there. Thread match stuff is pretty cool. This is the thing that really did it for me. So, as many of you know, I frequently know that I have fabric, but I have no idea where it is. I discovered that I have 9 bins of fabric in my garage, and then the 4 cabinets that I have in this room, full of fabric. So, I could never find anything, and I thought that that was sort of annoying. And this is the thing that put me over the top in spending almost a month cataloging all of my fabric. So the cool thing about this is you can come in here and you can also just type whatever you want and make a new entry so that I have down to the shelf where exactly my fabric is so that I can find it at any given time. Here's the list that I made, which is fun and also was tedious to make, but once it was done, it's pretty awesome. I've already definitely used this feature and had been looking for something and been like, where was that muslin? It was in the garage in a specific bin and I went right to it and that was kind of awesome. Okay, we have a thread match, any kind of certifications. You can type whatever you want in here, what you think this might be suitable for. So if you want to make your notes on what you plan on making this into, you can absolutely do that. You can also add your very own tags. So if you have tags you want to be able to search by, you can make it. So this is cool if you're like me and you have a bunch of fabric that's all kind of the same, like it's all silk taffeta, it's all the same weight, it's just a different color. If I had paid for Plus, which at this point I might actually do, even though I've already gone to the expense of retyping everything in manually, I just want to give them money because I think that this app is so cool and I would like to support them. So you can just duplicate your fabric and then change the color if you want to do that. There's also this archive, which means you can put your fabric in so that it's not being counted into all of your things, or like when it goes down to 0, without having to delete the fabric. So like if it's something you want to like maybe buy later, or you want to remember, or it was used in a project so you don't want to delete that part of it, you can put it into your archive. That is available with the Plus, which is the paid subscription. But you can do anything you need to do on the free one. The only thing that they put into the paid is basically wants. Okay, let's pop back here to the main list and let's say I want to search for Iron Man. And we have a gold taffeta, which is the gold taffeta that I used for Iron Man. Cool. So if I'm in here and I see, oh yeah, I did in fact put this originally for Iron Man, so that's how it found that. I could have tagged it that way. I also could have come here and gone projects using this fabric. I can use a project and I can create a new project. And I can call this project Iron Man. So you can search your type, and it talks about all of the types here. There's not a lot for costuming specifically, like it's not really set up for that, but it depends on like this is a whole outfit, so I could, you know, use that here. I could just also put costume or other if I wanted to on here. Otherwise, I could break my costume down, my projects down by piece, and then categorize them by what kind of piece they are. So in this case, I'm going to call it a costume. It's made for me, and it is completed. And you can fill out all this other stuff. You can put images of it in here, you can tag it, and you can, once you create the project, there's also like a space to link patterns, any notions, your to-do list, your to-buy list. And I just think that this is a really cool way to keep track of your projects. I do already have my project set up in my Notion board, which links into my YouTube setup. So that is why I'm probably not going to use this, but I still might make the projects over here also if I still have the fabrics that are available, or going forward I might just have a duplicate projects area. My Notion board is largely for me to have pack lists and other stuff in that I use when I'm going to take that costume somewhere. It also helps me with my YouTube filming and figuring out the schedule for that and like what things go in and stuff like that. So those do need to be linked over there. However, this is a cool place to have that also. And many of you are not using Notion for that. Many of you are not making YouTube videos. So this is a perfect place to do that. Another cool thing they have in here is a journal where you can write whatever you want about your project. So if you want to keep notes here, you totally can do that. Okay, so going back to the home page, we now see that we have a new project, which is the Iron Man one. Cool, and I have updated to 2 projects. Awesome. So we've gone through projects and fabrics. There is the same Notion stash. So say we wanted to add a button, we're gonna call it Noel's button. And you can do the quantity of these things, the size, the style, and put images in, and save your Notion. Just like you do with your fabric, just a little bit more simple. The patterns area is the thing that I think a lot of you are gonna really love. And it's, you can make your own pattern list of patterns you have. You can, in the paid version, make a private pattern list if you don't want to share any of that. But what you can do is search for patterns on here that you might have. And if they're in here already, you can go ahead and add them to your stash. And if they're not in here already, you can add them. And it's basically crowdsourcing pattern information. So let's have a look at one of these. So the thing that I think many of you guys are going to like is the specific patterns you can link to, put them in your wish list or your stash if you have them at home. So when you're out and about, you can refresh your memory on what the packaging on this shows. It also usually does link to the actual pattern. So if you wanted to, say, come over here and try to figure out like how much yardage you needed or something like that, that is all quickly available to you without having to bring the pattern with you. I think that's pretty cool. It does have a lot of information on there. And you can also wish list this, so if it's something you might want to buy, then awesome. They also have this whole area that is just free patterns. So I just searched free and I got 1,100 patterns that are free. And so you can be like, ooh, I like this padded case, and I can get a link to it and go download this pattern. So I think that's pretty awesome. It's something fun that you can do in your spare time if you're interested in boosting up your patterns. It also has tons and tons of the big 4 patterns, and actually many indie patterns are in here, which I find very useful and cool. Like here's Style Arc. A lot of these are very small, like this is Mood Society. They just released this. That's pretty awesome. Okay, so that's a little bit about that. You can also see on the sidebar we have my lists, which is your wish list, any bookmarks to patterns that you have placed in here. And if you're a Plus member, you can do your to-do lists or your to-buy lists, which is helpful if this is a place that you think would be cool to have that information. There's also a measurements where you can look at your measurements on a certain date. I've never put my measurements in here, but if you'd like to, you can just new measurement, put it who it's for, imperial or metric, and then go ahead and add your measurements if you change sizes a lot. I don't, so I don't usually need to use something like this because I know the measurements that I need off the top of my head. But it does seem like a cool thing to have. This is also something that on your profile you can choose to share or not share your profile. You can also choose what in your profile you want to share. Then lastly, there's stats, which I think is pretty awesome. So here is my fabric stats. I have 262 fabrics. This is how much I have currently in yardage. So the composition and the colors are based on cuts of fabric, not length. So if I have 262 cuts of purple that are all 1 yard, but I have 10,000 yards of black, it's still gonna look mostly purple, just so you know. I have put in the request to actually have them change that to by the yard, or let you have the option to sort by the yard for your stats. That is not something that they have done yet, but they have a very long list of requests, so I feel like that is absolutely fair. Of course, you see I have a lot of silk and cotton and linen. There's some polyester, some wool, some viscose or rayon, that sort of thing, so you can see what your collection looks like, and also your color range. I feel like my color wheel is pretty cool. Like, it's pretty inclusive. I do like that. It does it by weight, added and used, and then that's it. You do get more stats if you have the plus version. So basically, like I said, everything you need for Shoresy's need is free. So I think that's cool. All right, so then there's a community section. There is an activity feed that's just letting you follow the people that you follow or everybody with their updates. You can look at any shared projects that people are sharing. You can look at different pattern lists, which I think is really cool. So if you were super interested and wanted to know what to make with denim besides jeans, you could go to this, and there's 40 patterns in here that they can suggest to you. So this is a good place to come and get ideas. I particularly love this section right here. I think soft sculpture fashion is really neat. So yeah, if you're interested in that, there's a ton of stuff in here. The discussion forum I find super useful. They have these main categories, which is general feedback and thoughts, feature requests, so this is you talking to them, bugs and errors. So if you want to tell them something like, hey, there's a bug here, or I want it to be by the yard and not by the cut, you can put it in here. And you can also come in here and look at all of the other people who've requested other things, and people do have a conversation in here, which I think is really useful, because if you don't understand how something works, sometimes that is already described in here by another member. And then there's other random categories which you can contribute to. You can also make new ones. So if you need help with something, the community is very chatty on here. And then there's a member section where you can search for the members that you want to add and follow. So hopefully that helps you understand Threadloop and why I think it's awesome. I am very stoked to have a catalog of my fabric, especially one that I think I might keep up with and update when I use pieces of fabric, because that's actually a really useful thing to have when you're out fabric shopping, especially when you have over a mile of stash. Can I be do I have this already? Because there have been times when I have been out in the fabric district in LA and I am nowhere near my stash. And I have sat there asking my friends, do you remember if I bought this already? And as you know, I've had people in my comment section tell me where stuff was. Because I was like, I don't know where I stuck this fabric. And someone will be in the comment section being like, it's in the back cabinet on the second drawer. And I'm like, how did you guys know that? And they went back and looked at some video from before and found that information for me. I don't need to ask that question anymore, because now I know. That's very awesome. Shout out to my friend Hannah for getting me to do this, because it was a task. That was a monumental task. I had to literally take all of my fabric, open it up, measure it, yard to yard through the whole thing, refold it, and put it in this app. To fold all that fabric exactly the same and put it in the bins so that it's not a jumbled mess in there and I can clearly see from the outside of the bin, oh yes, these are the fabrics that are in there. This is cool. Being able to see the folded perfection of what my cabinets and what my bins look like now. So good. So good. I do love it. All right, well, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it was helpful to you. You guys should try Threadloop. There's no cost to it, so like, why not give it a go? If you have a stash that's big enough, it might be an interesting thing to get stats on it like I do, and to be able to keep track of it in your brain, and also to know where it is, because that is frequently a problem. You can make up the names of wherever you want it, what it to be called. If you have it in bags, if you like wherever, you can make up your own little category name for where you stuck your fabric. That was the absolute best feature for me. Just so good. So I am planning on using this going forward, and I really enjoy it, and I hope you do too. All right, let me know if you're interested in this, if you think you're going to use it, if you thought it was cool, if you don't like it, why you don't like it, because I would love to know that, and what kind of features you would hope to have in something like this, but you didn't see me describe here, because again, I don't know everything about this. I really only use the fabric parts, so maybe there's something really cool that we could all use this for. There are like shared group projects in here. Just saying. Okay, leave me a comment down below. Let me know what you're up to, what you're watching, what you're listening to, what you're reading. What's your favorite YouTube channel right now? What's going on? I have some podcasts that I'm going through. I found a new one. It's called Cautionary Tales. And it's like, I like to call it old gossip. It is stuff that went horribly wrong a while ago. And things we've learned from that. So, I don't know. That seems like fun. So I have been listening to that and enjoying it immensely. Also, of course, my normal podcasts that I listen to have been giving me the goods. I've also started watching House. I'm 2 seasons in. That is not a show that could get made today, let me just tell you. There are so many things that I'm like, oh, he said what? Anyway, Morgan told me, and I didn't even know about, because I'd never seen House, but she was like, oh yeah, it's a modern retelling of Sherlock. And I'm like, I'm sorry, what? I love Sherlock. Yeah, so apparently it's Sherlock Holmes, and it's true. He's a friend on the show called Wilson instead of Watson. He's like a drug addict that solves puzzles, and they just happen to be medical in this case. I don't know. I think it's great. It's fun. It's definitely racist and sexist and misogynistic and all the other things that television was in the early 2000s, late 90s. So if you end up watching House, expect to be like, at a bunch of things like, but it is interesting, and I don't know. I haven't watched a medical drama since like ER, when ER started. So like I watched it in the Clooney era because I'm old. Anyway, let me know what you guys are watching, what you're listening to. Severance was awesome this week. So good. So into it. Man, I love that show. If you have Apple TV Plus, Severance, man. Severance is the way to go. Okay, I'm gonna stop jabbering. See you guys later. Bye.